No chat.
Good morning, everybody. What is going on, Profitable Stylists? This week, we are talking about a new color trend that is sweeping the industry this fall. It's called moonlighting.
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 It's just words. I'm sure it's something we've done before.
We've never done this before.
It's, is there really anything new?
I'm going to describe it to you, and you tell me if you've ever heard of this before.
Okay.
It's supposed to be.
I have not heard of it. Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard of moonlighting, and you say it's sweeping. God, I feel like I'm not watching the right YouTube videos.
You got to get on social media, buddy.
I am, but maybe I'm watching too much about beekeeping or something else. Moonlighting.
I'm sure there's moonlighting in beekeeping as well. That's got to have something to do with something.
So obviously it's highlights kind of a way.
It's a form of lightening the hair soft and subtly, a couple of levels lighter than the natural. So it could be soft, subtle contrast, and it would be done with freehanding primarily.
What makes it moonlighting? I would think
it's because it's not directly from the scalp. It kind of shows through, almost like think about when you're walking at night and the moonlight casts subtle contrast against the ground, against the grass, against the trees and stuff.
So the very first ever, I don't know, highlighting is probably the most broad term for lighter streaks on the hair, right? So then when you say I don't know, I guess when I hear high, I think sun, but then sunlight, then sun something with a sun, but because it's high, but then moon, I was thinking maybe it was low, like darker, but it's still light, but it's subtle, sort of like in the woods at night, you can't see unless it's a bright moon kind of thing. And so it's some light, but not as bright as the sunlight. It's kind of, I'm trying to wrap my head around like why it might be called
in the hair. It's primarily focused from the mid shaft down. It's not so much focusing on the top layer of the hair itself. It's really more for the contrast through the mid shaft down. So if I said to you something like a balayage or an ombre or a freehand,
that's what most of it I think of. Freehand painting, yeah, just something. And it's a cool.
This is called moonlight, so it's different.
Moonlight. I think there's some songs with moonlight in it, right? But I think I only turned half my lights on. I kind of am in the moonlight right now. I just looked up and I got just the lights on the top and right side of my and nothing coming from over here. I was like, oh, my lights aren't on. Oh, yes, they are. Oh, just half. So I did this on purpose for Moonlighting Day so that I would kind of look moonlit. Actually, I got a haircut yesterday.
You look half lit.
Look, I got a haircut yesterday, just trimmed a tiny bit because I wanted to kind of stay long for the winter, but I did not have my grays colored. Got to do that in the next day or two because I'm looking. This is pretty close to my natural color brown with a whole lot of gray. Maybe I'll just get moonlit.
There you go. You could do it.
So I think that we should talk a little bit more about the terms. But go ahead.
You know, with the terms themselves, I mean, the whole thing about it is, and I'm not trying to say anything negative about the word moonlighting. Moonlights. I don't really care what they label anything anymore because everything old is becoming new. Everything's a rehash of something else, right?
Definitely.
So
possibly with a twist. I
mean, there is a twist to it. It's fun. The thing to me is it's fun because it gets the clients excited enough to come in to ask for something. It gives the stylist an excuse to now suggest a technique to a client that they may or may not have suggested before in the past. And especially if they have suggested it before in the past, the client at that time may not have been excited for it or may not have felt comfortable with doing it. Whereas now, because it's trending, now they would be apt to do it, right? So all the way around, this is a good thing for everybody involved.
One of my favorites ever was Cowboy Copper because, forever we had been getting people who were so adamant against, as blondes went from yellow to white, the brassy phase got harder and harder to not get. I don't want orange. I don't want brown. I don't want red. I don't want brass. And so brass was a difficult thing to not get, somewhere between gold and orange. But then when you gave it a fancy name like caramel or copper or cowboy or cowgirl copper, well, now it sounds cool. Give me, basically you're saying, give me brass, because
Right.
I can put a cool name with it. So with the Moonlights, what I'm seeing is grown out highlights. I mean, the skill level can be lower to put it in, because it does, because I know that's the most difficult thing about highlights, is when people are weaving those foils and they're trying to get it next to the scalp, and they're using the corner of the brush and trying to get it to where it looks like it's not grown out, because it's only going to look like that for like 2 days before it looks grown out anyway. But it can't look grown out on the first 2 days, or they don't want to pay for it. And then you've got the risk of getting between the sections and putting your little spots on the hair that's not supposed to be in the foil. So then what I love about the newer trend, let's talk about the good.
Wait, you froze up there for a second, or I froze up. Well, I'm going to let you know. Are you back? Yeah, you're back.
I think I'm back. What were you going to let me know?
Real quick, actually the skill set for doing the Moonlight trend is higher.
I went out, but am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Oh, wow.
The skill set for it is higher, because you got to make sure that you're applying it in the right spot. So when it gets to the bottom, it actually shows up where it's supposed to show up, and it doesn't get lost inside the interior of the hair.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Because there's a controversy going on right now on social media around it, which we got to talk about in a little bit. But I didn't want to. I had to just step in there real quick.
Well, and I hear you. But I think, and I get what you're saying. Like, it's got to be in a certain place so that it'll show in the right places. But it can't be harder than highlights against the scalp.
It is, though, because that's the whole thing with social media. There's a lot of arguing going on right now around it, because people are now because they're watching the videos and they're like, I can do that at home, and then they're trying to do it
hair
at home.
extensions too. I can do that.
And it's a big problem,
right? You know, I got two philosophies here, and they're conflicting. Okay. So we say there's nothing new. Everything just comes back around. It's just with a twist. But is that true, or is everything new? Because one of the things I like to think about is snowflakes. They say no two snowflakes are identical. But do you know how many millions and millions over the years, over the thousands of years of snow?
Oh, it's got to be billions even. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Sure. Numbers we don't even have words for. Right. So the billions of snowflakes, and they say no two are exactly alike. No two humans are exactly alike. I mean, maybe some identical twins, but even then, so if no two things are exactly alike, I don't think you can actually say we've been there, done that, because it's going to come back, but a little different. So that's how I try to not become an old man. That's how I try to not become an old man and like, we've done that, been there, done that. Maybe not, because big hair at the scalp's coming back, but not in the same places. You know, it was big in the bangs in the 80s, and then it went big in the back a decade or so ago, and then it was super flat everywhere. And so the heaviness or the bigness in styles is always ever changing, and it might be close to something in the past, but it's definitely like a snowflake.
That's where the twist matters, because it may be a form of balayage or a form of ombre, but the tonal value now in today's time, with the colors, the placement of where it should pop out more. So the baseline, the foundation, or the skeleton of the technique itself may be repeated slightly off of something we've done in the past, but the application of how it looks now is completely new and different. And that's why I say I don't look at any of these naming conventions in a negative way. I don't care about what they're called nowadays. It's exciting because it's bringing that conversation back to the fold. It's bringing it back to the front. And that's what matters.
Color? What is the color, or at least most colors of this Moonlight?
So this is something I'm personally excited about. My personal preference is a brunette or darker. My personal preference is not blondes.
For the beginning of the
As an all over color,
like
right? Yeah,
somebody
like when I
starts
look at
off
a
with
girl,
medium
I'm
to
going to
dark
check
brown
out a
hair.
girl who's not blonde more twice as many times as I would. Like if you're going to get my head to turn, it's going to be on a brunette, a redhead, or somebody with dark hair. It's not going to be on a
Okay.
blonde.
Right.
But what I like about this is you can have that darker hair, and then you got soft dimension in there. You got little T's in there. You got a little, hey, what is going on? That's not just one color, you know?
Is moonlighting trending in a particular tonal palette? Is it more reds? Is it
It's 1 to 2 levels lighter than whatever the base color is. And that's the traditional version of it, which gives so much opportunity to do anything and everything. Because if you want to be conservative, if you're a level 6, you could put in a level 7, level 8 highlight in there. It's soft and subtle enough where it all blends together beautifully, but then it's subtle and soft enough to create ever elegant contrast. Yeah. And that can give it just a little bit of dimension enough to really make it pop beautifully. You could go extreme. You could go dark to light. You can go from black hair to blonde ends. You could do like the copper you were talking about. You could be a level 7
well, that's not a
level.
level 1 or 2 if you're going from black to blonde.
You could be like you could be as dark as I am.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had longer hair, my ends could be white, could be platinum, could be gold,
and
could be,
and that'd still be called moonlighting.
Yeah, sure, because it's the technique of how soft and subtle it would be showing up through my ends. And it's the placement that matters more than anything else. This is where the skill set kind of comes in and is kind of important,
So I'm going to want to know about this placement soon. But one other thing I want to mention or ask, is it more of a weaving technique or a slicing?
It's going to be more weaving and freehanding than it's going to be slicing. Slicing is beautiful when it's done. Slicing is designed to create more contrast, more definition. Thicker slices are designed to create more blocks of color. The cowboy copper trend that you were mentioning earlier, which is now, by the way, fun fact, it's now morphed and evolved into calico copper.
Calico,
yeah.
Calico copper.
Yeah, so it's fun because it's using more block coloring, traditional things, but being applied in different ways to create that effect. Think of the early 2000 club girl scene, where you'd have like dark and then you'd have all light on top and you'd have a red streak coming through or a copper streak coming through or a black streak coming through, something dark, extreme contrasts.
Right.
So it's fun. And you don't have to do exactly how the trend is. You can do you could do any variation of it. You could keep it more subtle. You could keep
laughing
it
at me for saying calico because that's what I thought you were saying. More like a cat, a calico
like
cat.
A cat, calico copper. Yeah.
I thought you were saying calico.
My accent sometimes throws you off. I know.
So I don't have near the color experience as you do, but from the mistakes I've made in color and highlighting, one thing I've learned, and this is just some real basics, and it might come into play in a little while when you start talking about technique. That's why I asked a little bit more about slicing or weaving, is that I noticed that the less difference in the colors, like if you're going blonde highlights on black hair, you can do tiny sections of weave and it's going to show because the contrast in the color is so much. But when you do a tiny difference in the color, which is what I'm hearing is in this moonlights. Moonlight. I was looking for a third word, but I think it was just 2 words.
Moonlight trend, I guess you could say.
Trend.
Moonlight color.
Yeah, because the color is so subtly different, it's not going to show as much if you have tiny, small weaves. I'm imagining you're probably going to have a little chunkier weave, no matter where you're doing it, for it to even show. Yeah.
This is where you got to think about having a plan. Last week we were talking about hair extensions and how placement really matters, and
Right.
understanding where hair extensions go is the make or break difference. With one or two strands, you can completely change somebody's look.
Right.
So with this kind of technique with Moonlights, it's equally just as important, because the contrast is so soft and subtle. It is so equally as important, especially when you're working with somebody in lighter hair color levels, primarily levels 7, 8, 9, and 10, or even beyond in the platinum levels. One of the things when you're working with somebody who's highlighted, one of the common things that unfortunately happens is the highlights are done so beautifully and so soft and subtly that there's too much overlap from each time on the revisit, and all the contrast through the ends gets blended together, and it just looks like a solid color. It don't look like highlights no more.
Right.
So then unfortunately you got a low light. The low lights is going over lighter hair. It doesn't grab so good. It doesn't have anything to anchor into. It fades. Now it looks brassy. Now you just got like this hot mess going on. And then you've got nice stripes coming down from here to here, and the rest of it blends together. It's chaos. Next thing you know, you have a corrective of your own making on your own hands, you know?
Color it black.
So this is why placement strategies matter so much in hair extensions. We talk about it all the time, but equally as much in highlights, in hair color.
Sure.
It matters so much. A lot of the highlighting classes that I teach, yeah, we go over formulation and we go over lift and how to control lift properly, of course. But one of the things, the feedbacks that I get on my color classes, especially the highlighting ones, is how much attention to detail we place on placement, where and why, with what purpose these foils go in. We use an entire thing called head mapping, where we use specific points of the face. If you place your foils there, you can get consistent results each and every time, you know, and then you can adjust that creatively to customize it for each individual client. So that's the whole thing where it comes down to. And this is where the controversy has started. On social media, there's a lot of videos going around right now. The end result of the video looks gorgeous. Let me tell you, Bernard, it looks freaking amazing, right? It's the beginning of the video that's making everybody crazy on social media, because you've got videos where they're literally taking the model, taking the girl, and they're taking a hairbrush comb. They're just dipping it in a bowl of lightener and just combing it right through the hair. And they're just globbing on a whole thing like this, globbing on a whole thing like this, globbing on a whole thing like this. And then the video cuts and it gets to the end. And in the end, you've got this beautiful, soft, subtle with the waves
because styling can make a lot of other things look good, even if they don't.
Now, if I said to you, if I took a comb with a glob of lightener on it and I took a model or a client and I just ran the comb straight through her hair like that, what do you think would happen?
I think so many things. I think how much is on the brush, how
a glob.
hard. Right, I know, but you could make that whole glob come off in one place if you pushed in too fast and hard. If you softly put the brush deeper and deeper as it went on, so it more evenly spread. I can see where even that can be done better or worse, depending on how you apply your glob. If glob is the right term here.
I don't know what the right term is.
Right, no, I think glob
is a cuss word and say an S.
Glob is a great term, but you know what I started to think originally in this whole thing, the creativity on the products being used. I thought it would have been done more with color for safety, but it sounds to me like it's being done more with lightener, bleach.
With lighteners and bleaches, yeah.
Because to me, I think that color is underused in the fact that color can be used to lighten people's hair if they haven't had color on their hair already, which is a sad thing that's just going away in this. It's not necessarily sad, but hardly anybody has no color on their hair anymore, right? But for a virgin application, this could be a very fast, easy, safe technique to mix color that's 1 or 2 shades lighter and apply it wherever you want. And then you don't have to worry about timing, because with lightener, you got to watch it, and some people's hair is going to lift faster than others. And so you're washing out in 10 or 15 minutes to get that a little bit lighter tone that you're talking about. But are we also talking about using lightener in such a way that we're not toning because we're only going a little bit lighter?
You should always tone. Okay, so I'm going to say to you, properly speaking, from an educational point of view, from an educator's point of view, I would be remiss if I said, oh yeah, just slap it on, wash it off, good to go, get out next. You should always tone after lightning, because
you messed up.
You have to remember, lightning and bleaches, whichever one you're doing, is taking away. It's not replacing it with anything else. Hair color takes away and deposits back in something. There's an equivalent exchange happening. Yep. With lightning and bleaching, you are just pulling out. You're not putting anything back in. So you should tone afterwards if you care about the long-term condition of the hair.
You can't say
do it, but
when you say if you care, that's manipulative.
It's the brutal truth is what that is.
Well, I cared, and I didn't tone much in my color days.
And that because but in your color, okay. In all fairness to you, you deep condition the living crap out of everybody.
No, didn't necessarily need. I mean, conditioner, but I don't know that they necessarily needed deep conditioner. We also
I don't know. Then in trying to represent you, maybe because you have 6,000% humidity in your area, it kind of like
maybe that was enough. Yeah, maybe I didn't have the same experience as dry climates. Yeah, that's a fact. Actually, that might be. We might just. That's why we have younger looking skin down here in the South.
It's true.
But I guess toner. That's a whole nother subject. Toner has this feeling to me still like you messed up, so you need to fix it.
That's primarily what it was used for back then. Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Toner has morphed, I guess, to where I still think of it as when we didn't quite hit the mark, or we were a little off, or that it was just hard to get, and we had to adjust or fix or tone. It was almost a synonymous word with fix or adjust a mess up. And so nowadays, when you say it must be done, it almost sounds like nobody can get it right the first time. But it's a different definition these days. Toner has a whole different definition. And so you are saying it should be done because of the health and feel of the hair.
I think the definition, I think hairdressers are squirrels, and they just don't read. They only read half the definition, and then the sentence got too long, and they skip the last half of it. Because in the definition of a toner, it starts off saying it is used primarily to correct, balance.
I've never read the definition of a toner. Never read one word.
Balance and fill unwanted tones, but also used to enhance, seal, and condition hair. But nobody gets to the "and" part. Everybody's just stuck on the first part.
Got to the part before "and," so that's interesting.
It's like unwanted tones. Well, I never make any unwanted tones. I don't need this.
Oh, we all do make unwanted tones. So talk to me about placement for Moonlights.
So here's the placement. And I want to talk to you when I'm talking about placement. I want to specifically talk about hair extension placement, because I think the hair extension placement will equally lend itself to easily explaining where the hair color placement should go on this kind of a technique.
Okay.
And I want to use keratin bonds specifically as well too, only because in K-tips, in the keratin bonds, with the she hair extensions, you've got the rooted, you've got the chatouche, which is the two tones.
Right.
You've got balayage, where the top half is darker and then it starts, getting into highlighting throughout the ends. You could use the ombres as well too, because it's from dark to medium to light. The whole thing is the darkness starts up here and it turns into lightness at the bottom, right?
And if we wanted to be more technical, could we say that all those different names describe things in a way where the dark to light is a pretty melted blend, not a solid line in almost all cases, but it's basically technically 1 inches, 2 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches from the scalp of one color going into the other, and sometimes in specific amount of inches, even a third color, more like a 1 or 2 inches at the scalp, 3 or 4 more inches of another color, and then the rest of the hair another color, all blended pretty softly. But if you want to get technical, you could talk about how the distance from the scalp, right?
And this is why I love using hair extensions as an example when talking about color placement, because everybody can visualize that one individual strand. Everybody can visualize where it would go and how it would look and how that would fit into the hair.
Yep.
So now, exactly like you're talking about, if we were to take that, this is where your creativity comes in. If you want it to be more contrasting, treat it like a rooted extension. Treat it like a ombre extension and start off real close, only 2-3 inches from the scalp. And, you know, like that high up on the mid shaft, start lightening it from all the way up there and all the way through the length of the hair. If you want to be more conservative about it, treat it like a balayage or a chateau tone color, and start way lower on the mid shaft and only do it from the, you know, bottom mid shaft through the ends. Then it's more soft, it's more subtle, it's more conservative. So any client, regardless of how old or how young they are, is a candidate for this technique. It's a all ages pass for anybody to be trendy. And you can customize it for each individual person. It's beautiful in that regards. And then you can further customize it by the color contrast, how extreme or how subtle you want it to be.
Can you hear people in my background?
I'm
doing it live and it might be a little loud over there. I just had people walk into the conference room. I just want to see if you could hear them as we're going. It's not, you're not hearing them.
Oh, I thought I was getting backfeed for a moment on my mic. I was
okay.
I'm
No,
I'm
sorry.
buttons.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Say that last thing you were saying.
So depending, so visualizing the hair extension, right? Regardless, if you're old or young, it works for everybody. So you can go closer if you're more trendy. You can go further down if you're more conservative. You could go extreme with the color contrast. You could go soft with the color contrast. You could go all the way to the hairline and really have it pop. Or you can stay more internal, inside, and just have it blend in more and have it softly show up throughout the length of the hair. Or
just dip a brush in bleach and brush it through. That's what I'm doing. That sounds like the easiest one. When you say a brush, do you mean a hairbrush or a color brush?
If you're going to freehand it like that, regardless of if you decide to use a brush or a comb or your fingers or a foil or whatever, I personally don't care. I don't have a preference.
When you originally said a brush, you know what I imagined was a hairbrush.
But people are doing it.
I didn't know it. I was just thinking right now, did you mean a hairbrush or did you mean a color brush?
A color comb, like a metal tail comb.
Oh, okay.
Like people take metal tail comb and they're putting like that, but then people are taking like denim brushes and flat brushes and paddle brushes and going through and doing that too.
Yeah, I love that. I do. I don't know
it's
why.
It's a look in itself, but the amount of control, you have to agree, the amount of control you have to have, you know? Yeah. Because otherwise you're going to have a blotch.
So I don't feel like I still understand what placement you're recommending. Or you're not recommending a specific one. You're just kind of throwing out a bunch depending on what you want to see.
I mean, in my personal opinion, I think it's going to be best served.
What's your favorite?
Framing around the hairline.
Okay.
That's going to be my favorite. That's going to be my thing that I'm going to use it the most as. I would do
outside of the hairline or on the hairline.
Depends on the client's comfort zone. If they're more creative, if they're more outgoing, then I'll go right on the hairline. Oh, yeah. And that's going to be sexy as hell. And then especially because when they go to pull their hair back, you're going to get this sweeping natural color that all of a sudden you're going to have, you know, a flash of color showing through. And I love, one of my favorite things about hair extensions and hair coloring with highlighting is when a girl's got her hair in a ponytail and she's got all those little dimensions and streaks and contrasts coming through that ponytail, I think it's freaking sexy as hell, man. I love it. I
Okay.
freaking love it.
Hairline and underneath. John says hairline and underneath. What's he
So
mean?
the underneath is like anything from the ears forward, or like from your hairline to about your ears. Anything up in here on the sides of your heads.
It's going to
I
show the
think
most.
that's going to lend itself the best as well. Because once you get to the back of the head,
Who
all
cares?
the hair is just falling down straight, right?
Unless it's close to the hairline here, then it shows in the front. Same thing with
And
extensions.
then it would go right behind the ear, then it would show through.
We learned that the hard way with extensions, where people wanted to put some, the undercurrent, peekaboo extensions that were a completely different color in this area back here. And then we just never saw them. Even in a ponytail, you didn't see it because it was completely hidden. And so I started to learn that the closer to the hairline you got and down in this area behind the ear would show when the hair like fell down in front, you would see it kind of on the inside of the hair here, but wouldn't so much show in a ponytail. And so when you said like extensions, that kind of reminded me of some of the placement techniques of extensions all around the hairline. Even if it's behind the actual hairline a little bit, is going to show a little bit more than anywhere else in the interior. And of course, layers are going to help reveal any of this color.
Layers are going to help. You can even put one right off the top of your head, your hairline, and have it frame up as well too. The other thing I'm going to say is your style also is going to dictate some of the placement patterns as well. Some women love to wave and curl, do like the beachy waves or the curls and stuff. So with that, you're probably going to want, you could put it up on the hairline, but you're going to want to focus a little bit more throughout the interior, because then when those curls start coming through, all that hair's got to wrap around itself. You got to make sure that you have enough inside, not just on the hairline. You got to make sure you have enough color on the inside. So as all that hair is wrapping around, you have even distribution going through that curl. So then you can see it show up. If you wear your hair more smooth, more straight, then you're going to want to focus more along the hairline, because then all that hair is going to just be laying down on top of itself and it's going to all get covered up and fall in. Maybe even I will go as far as to say you could do a little bit chunkier pieces as well too, to make sure that they really do show up as the hair shifts and moves. You can get those flashes of color to show up.
John says depends on the texture and density of the hair, which you kind of were saying just now too. That's true.
Yeah, texture and density matter, of course. And this is kind of why I was saying about the placement, and maybe adding a little bit more or going a little bit thicker here and there, depending on the type of the hair that you have and how you're going to style it. You mentioned layering. A fun thing that could be done is, regardless if you're intending to wear it wavy or straight, you could put in your highlight, or you could even do this with extensions. You don't just have to do it.
Your Moonlights.
Do your Moonlight. You could go in and purposefully take a section of hair above where the color was or is, and purposefully layer out that layer above it, just to really be able to show. I've seen you do that at shows.
I was getting ready to say I've hidden, revealed, or tweaked, or changed the way color looks, highlights, lowlights, chunks of color I didn't love so much, or I wanted to reveal more, and layer over the top. And I always called it the cut melt. It's like a cutting technique that is similar to color melting, but if the color's already messed up, that wasn't my expertise anyway, and I didn't always do the color, but there the color is not looking like I want it to look, and I found that I could adjust the way the color looks with cutting techniques. And so I would texturize, layer, point cut to change the way the color looked at the ends, or the brown hair that fell over the blonde, I would reveal more of it by thinning the brown hair over the top of it, or layering it more. Or if that hair is kind of flipped up at the ends, I can have that long layered look and have that brown, if it's thin enough, blending into the flip up of the lighter color. I'm talking more contrast, brown to blonde, but it could be, like you're saying, you could have a block of color in here, and it could be a total stripe, all a little lighter, and you don't see it till you decide to reveal it through cutting or layering or thinning. And so, yes, I think that cutting is a big part of what's going to show after you moonlight.
Now we have to do a PSA for all you people watching at home. Do not attempt this at home.
I disagree. Go for it.
Do because your corrective prices start at.
Some of you are going to be successful, and how are you going to know if you don't try? And then just call us.
Yes, the 1 out of 10 of you will be successful. The 9 out of 10 of you are gonna find out.
The New Orleans area, and we would be happy to help you fix or adjust it. Or just go. I think hairdressers across America would be happy with us sending people in to get their moonlights adjusted.
Then you know what? Yes, please do this at home. All you have to do is mix up a bowl of bleach. Do not get lightener. Get bleach, the harshest thing you can get. Go to your laundry dispensary and grab a gallon of Clorox.
There you go.
And just
brush in it.
Put don't even waste your time with a brush. Put a glove on and just scoop up a nice and just run your fingers right through. Start right here at the temple and just right through. Make sure you get a whole big
It probably look pretty good.
Oh yeah. And only leave it on for 10 minutes so it turns nice and orange.
What is it? Yeah, John's agreeing.
Yeah, corrective dollar.
Big money.
The thing about doing this at home, the struggle is simply this. I don't care if you have somebody help you do it. If you do not know what you're doing, and if somebody doesn't understand how these things are supposed to happen, it's human nature. When you're at home, you get comfortable and you forget your brain is not in the right environment. So you start moving, you start walking around, you start watching TV, you start laughing, you start bobbling your head around. Your hair starts shifting. And if you have free-handed this, or if you have put this in with a foil or something, and if you haven't wrapped it properly, it's gonna rub against all the other hair next to it. And you're just gonna have this weird digital camel print thing going all throughout your head.
Calico.
Yeah, then you're gonna color your hair red, color it copper afterwards. Calico copper.
Well, I am not the color expert. I have nothing else to say about this. I don't even know what else to ask.
That's the main thing. Yeah. You know, I wanted to bring it up because the videos the end result of the videos online on social media look beautiful. But I don't necessarily agree with the beginning half of the video on how they're showing how easy it is to apply this.
I can't wait to just go look this up.
You cannot take a brush of lightener and you can do it, but not the way it's being shown on video.
That's just clickbait. I doubt that's what they really did to make it look like
monkey see, monkey do, man. When one video shows it, 10 other videos show it, and then we're like, oh, that's how it's done.
Well, you've seen the hair extension videos online. I'm watching the techniques. They look terribly awful. I know there's going to be damage. I know this girl's going to have bald spots, but the afters are beautiful because they put a whole bunch of hair in and then they curl it. You can't see if the color is right. The color matches. You can't see that the cut does not blend or match because curls hide a lot.
I just don't know if they're using actual lightener in these videos in the first half. I think they're using paint or marker or like whiteout or something. I don't think they're actually using lightener because it doesn't go on like that. I don't know. So yeah, so that's the whole thing. That's Moonlights. I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be cool as hell. I think it's going to be really, really fun. I think with hair extensions, it's going to be even more fun to be able to create those placements.
I feel at a loss. I love the new words, the new terms, the new ideas, because it gives everybody, the owner, the stylist, the clients, all good excuses to try something different and new. So I do love that about it. But I feel at a loss because I truly had never even heard the term until we were on here today. I haven't seen it or heard of it. We're at the bottom of the country. Maybe trends get here. They always did get here a little slower. The internet's brought things a little faster, more evenly across the country. But I remember trends used to start California, New York, and trickle down here a year or two or more.
Okay, so start talking to your staff now and introduce it to your area first.
I can't wait to see. Some of them watch this. I can't wait for them to go like, you didn't know about those, or or I never heard about that. They're either going to know about it or not. And so I might even put it in our group chat here in a minute and say, who's heard of Moonlights? And at least Brennan is probably, he should have commented by now if he's watching. He's usually watching because he comes in late on Thursday, and he's gonna be like, yeah, I knew about him. Saw him on your live.
Right.
But had he ever really heard about him?
True profitable stylist right there. Good job, Brennan.
Yeah, I'm trying to gauge like how out of touch am I, because I do watch some hair videos, and this one has not come across my feed. I'm more extensions and cutting. You're more color. So it makes sense that you would know the color trends, and that's interesting. And I'm intrigued, but got nothing to say about it. I don't know. I don't know details. I can't wait to go see. Well, I think we're done, huh?
So next week we're off because it's Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So we're going to be eating apple pie and turkey.
Everyone.
We're going to
take a week off.
So we're going to have a week off next week. But so the week after, when we get back, you can share with us your Moonlight story.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope you guys have fun.
If you like us and want to see us again.
That's right. We'll talk to y'all later.
That one was a little quick.